Allergies in dogs and cats are one of the biggest causes of suffering for owners and animals. Constant itching, repeated otitis, inflamed skin, and diarrhea become routine, and often the solutions offered seem only to mask the symptoms. But what if food could become a real treatment? In this video, you'll discover how the BARF, biologically appropriate raw food, diet can help cure allergies rather than aggravate them, from identifying the allergen to building a personalized, balanced, and safe diet. We explain how to choose the right proteins, which vegetables can be allies, the importance of supplements, and above all, how to avoid the mistakes that can turn BARF into a risk. This content is educational, designed for tutors who are looking for real alternatives to improve the quality of life of their pet. With information, patience, and professional monitoring, it is possible to transform pain into well-being and return joy to everyday life. Subscribe to the channel to learn more about BARF and natural nutrition for dogs and cats. When an owner discovers that their dog or cat suffers from food allergies, the first reaction is usually frustration, constant itching, skin sores, recurrent otitis, vomiting, diarrhea. These signs never seem to go away, even with frequent trips to the vet. And often, the traditional recommendation is to change food to a hypoallergenic line. But the big question is, do these industrialized feeds really solve the problem, or do they just mask the symptoms? This is where the BARF, biologically appropriate raw food, diet comes into the spotlight. But beware, poorly structured BARF can make allergies even worse. The secret is not just in swapping feed for natural food, but in deeply understanding which proteins, vegetables, and supplements work for the specific animal and which should be avoided. This personalization is what turns the diet into a healing tool and not a new crisis trigger. Food allergies in pets are almost always the result of exaggerated immune system responses to proteins or additives that shouldn't cause problems. Common ultra-processed feeds contain low-quality byproducts, dyes, and preservatives that inflame the body. Even the premium versions often use meat, soy, and corn flours, which are potential allergens. In BARF, the tutor has absolute control over each ingredient, but this control requires knowledge. A mistake in the choice of protein, for example, can turn what should be a solution into a time bomb for the animal's health. The first step in a BARF diet for allergic dogs or cats is accurate allergen identification. There is no point in removing everything at once without criteria. It is necessary to conduct the so-called exclusion test. This protocol consists of offering for 6 to 8 weeks a protein that is unprecedented in the animal's diet, something it has never eaten before, such as rabbit meat, duck meat, or even lamb. During this time, you completely eliminate any snacks, leftover table food, or supplements that contain common protein sources, such as chicken and beef. Throughout this time, the tutor must observe the animal's skin, fur, feces, and behavior. In dogs, the improvement may be gradual, but in cats, the progress is often even more visible because they respond quickly to foods that reduce inflammation. If the symptoms subside, it means that the problem was actually in the previous diet. Then, it is possible to reintroduce other ingredients one by one until you identify exactly what the triggers are. But it's not enough to choose the right protein. Diet balance is essential. Allergic dogs and cats need an adjusted ratio of lean meats, fleshy bones, functional innards, and plant fibers that help regulate gut immunity. A healthy microbiota is the first line of defense against allergies. Vegetables high in soluble fiber, such as zucchini, broccoli, and lightly steamed butternut squash, can be powerful allies. On the other hand, certain raw ingredients that are usually used in BARF, such as poorly preserved eggs or fish, can aggravate the allergy condition and should be used with caution, always under veterinary supervision. Another crucial point is supplementation. Allergic animals often have nutritional deficiencies due to chronic intestinal inflammation. Supplements such as fish oil, rich in omega-3, zinc, and vitamin E, are key to helping the skin recover and to modulate the immune system. But nothing should be done on the kick. Wrong doses of fish oil, for example, can cause severe diarrhea. Therefore, it is essential to have the guidance of a veterinarian nutritionist or specialist in natural nutrition. It is common for owners to try to solve allergies just by eliminating chicken, as it is one of the main villains in pet diets. But the truth is that any protein can cause allergies, depending on the animal's sensitivity. We have seen cases of dogs intolerant to beef, cats allergic to fish, and even animals with a reaction to rice. Therefore, personalization is the keyword. BARF is not a ready-made recipe. It is fine-tuning, built from clinical observation, laboratory tests, and the individual response of each pet. The tutor also needs to be prepared for the emotional changes that come with adaptation. Animals that previously lived in itching and pain begin to regain energy, play more, sleep better. This creates an even stronger bond between tutor and pet, because food is no longer just fuel and becomes healing and well-being. But the warning remains. Without knowledge, BARF can become a risk. Common mistakes include always offering the same protein, not balancing calcium and phosphorus, exaggerating the amount of viscera, or leaving aside essential supplementation. These mistakes can cause not only allergies, but also severe deficiencies that compromise bones, muscles, and even the heart. Therefore, before turning the BARF diet into a weapon against allergies, the tutor needs to understand that he is dealing with something delicate. It is the health of his best friend that is at stake. With the right follow-up, BARF can be the watershed between a life of suffering and a full life, free of inflammation and discomfort. This is the starting point for understanding how a natural diet can become not only an alternative to kibble, but a true preventive medicine against allergies. ChatGPT said, "When the owner understands that BARF is not just an exchange of food, but a reconstruction of the body's balance, it becomes clearer why so many allergic animals improve with the correct diet. But there is a fundamental detail. Not every allergy is really food. Many dogs and cats have mixed conditions, in which food allergy is combined with environmental allergy, mites, pollen, mold, or even dermatitis caused by fleas. This means that diet is a central piece of the puzzle, but not the only one. For example, a dog that scratches nonstop may have an intolerance to chicken, but it may also be reacting to dust from the living room carpet. In this case, removing chicken from the diet may relieve some of the symptoms, but it may not completely solve the problem. The great advantage of BARF is that by eliminating the chemical additives present in the feed and providing fresh and controlled ingredients, the immune system is less overloaded. Thus, even if there are environmental factors, the animal's body responds with more balance. Another critical aspect is the quality of the ingredients chosen. Fresh meat of good origin makes all the difference. Many tutors, to save money, end up buying second-rate cuts, leftovers with excess fat or poorly stored viscera. Not only does this not help, but it can worsen the condition, generating additional inflammation. Allergic animals need clean, fresh ingredients and preferably reliable suppliers. The difference between a free-range, antibiotic-free chicken and an intensively farmed chicken can reflect directly on the animal's skin and fur. In addition to the main protein, the chosen vegetables are indispensable allies in the fight against allergies. They work not only as fiber for the intestine, but also as a source of antioxidants that reduce inflammation. Pumpkin, boiled carrots, kale, and cucumber can be inserted gradually. Ingredients such as tomatoes, eggplants, and onions are totally contraindicated, as they can cause intoxication or aggravate symptoms. There's also the issue of grains. Many tutors want to include rice, oats, or corn in small quantities, believing that this increases the pet's satiety. However, for allergic animals, grains are usually one of the main triggers of crises. Well-assembled BARF completely dispenses with grain. Energy comes from proteins and good fats, and we can't forget about hydration. Allergic animals, when fed dry food, suffer even more because the body is already inflamed and dehydrated. BARF brings an immediate gain because it is rich in natural moisture. The food helps the kidneys, liver, and skin to work healthier. It is common for owners to report that in a few weeks of BARF, the pet's skin is softer and the fur is shinier, clear signs of reduced inflammation. However, it is essential to note that each animal responds at a different time. Some show improvement within 2 weeks, while others need 2 or 3 months to stabilize symptoms. This requires patience from the tutor and professional monitoring. Often, it will be necessary to adjust the diet several times until you find the right balance. Another point that cannot be neglected is the use of probiotics and prebiotics. The gut microbiota plays a central role in modulating immune responses. Dogs and cats with allergies almost always have imbalances in the gut flora. Inserting quality probiotics, indicated by a veterinarian, can speed recovery and reduce crises. Kombucha, kefir, or plain yogurt are not safe options without supervision. You need to choose specific strains that are safe for pets. And when we talk about allergies, we can't forget the emotional impact. The owner often suffers as much as the animal, seeing it scratch until it bleeds, hearing the moans at night, dealing with frequent consultations. By choosing BARF, this tutor is not only offering food, he is choosing a new way of caring, closer, more attentive. The kitchen becomes a space for healing, and each meal becomes an opportunity to restore health and joy to the companion. But this requires responsibility. It is not enough to assemble dishes in the eye or copy recipes from the internet. Each animal is unique. What works for one may be poison for another. Therefore, there should always be guidance from a trained professional, periodic exams, and a detailed record of everything that is offered. Only in this way does BARF consolidate itself as a true treatment, and not as a risk. This is the way to understand that allergy is not a sentence. It is a challenge that can be overcome with information, patience, and love combined with science. One of the biggest dangers when talking about BARF for dogs and cats with allergies is believing that just swap the kibble for raw meat and everything will be solved. This is the most common mistake, and also the riskiest. Poorly done BARF can cause nutritional deficiencies, overload on organs, and even aggravate allergic crises. The first recurring mistake is to always use the same protein. Many tutors, after discovering that the pet reacts well to lamb, for example, end up offering only lamb for months. This increases the risk of the immune system developing new sensitivity, as well as causing nutritional imbalance. Controlled protein rotation is key, always with slow introductions and careful observation. The second mistake is to exaggerate the viscera. In traditional BARF, viscera such as liver, kidney, and spleen are essential, but they should make up a small fraction of the diet, typically around 10%. Many tutors believe that because they are nutritious, they can offer large amounts. The excess, however, overloads the liver and kidneys, in addition to causing diarrhea and vomiting. For allergic animals, this inflammatory overload can be even more harmful. The third mistake is not balancing calcium and phosphorus. Fleshy bones are one of the foundations of BARF, but they need to be chosen carefully. Giving bones that are too large, such as bovine femurs, can break teeth. Giving small fragile bones, such as chicken wings, can cause choking or punctures. And if the tutor completely removes the bones out of fear, it ends up causing calcium deficiency, which compromises the pet's muscles and bones. For allergic animals, this balance is even more important, as a diet low in calcium can intensify inflammatory processes. The fourth mistake is ignoring essential supplements. Omega-3s, vitamin E, zinc, probiotics, all play a central role in modulating immunity. Animals with allergies need these nutrients more than ever to reduce skin inflammation, repair tissue, and balance the immune response. Many owners believe that natural food is enough, but without the correct supplementation, BARF loses much of its therapeutic potential. Another common misconception is copying generic recipes from the internet. Each animal is unique. An active 20-kilogram dog with a history of chicken allergy cannot follow the same diet as a 5-kilogram cat with a fish intolerance. Copying quantities, proteins, and vegetables from ready-made formulas is a dangerous shortcut. The right thing is to adapt everything according to weight, age, activity level, health history, and individual sensitivity. There's also the risk of confusing allergy with intolerance. Allergy is an immune reaction. Small amounts of the food are already capable of causing severe symptoms. Intolerance, on the other hand, involves digestive difficulty. The pet can tolerate small amounts but suffers in excess. Treating intolerance as an allergy can unnecessarily limit the diet. Treating allergy as an intolerance can put the animal's life at risk. Another critical point: hygiene in preparation. Poorly preserved meat, poorly washed utensils, or incorrect freezing can introduce dangerous bacteria. Allergic pets, already with a fragile organism, are even more vulnerable to secondary infections. Therefore, handling BARF requires the same care that one would take when preparing a meal for a small child. Everything clean, fresh, and in adequate quantities. And we cannot forget the impact of the tutor's anxiety. Many, desperate to see their pet improve, make sudden changes, test 1,000 ingredients in a short time, and give the body no chance to stabilize. Allergy requires method, patience, and discipline. The body needs weeks, sometimes months, to recover from inflammation. Each introduction should be slow, with clear records of the effects. In the end, the central lesson is, BARF is not improvisation. It is science applied to everyday cooking. It is necessary to respect proportions, choose quality ingredients, supplement correctly, and follow professional guidance. Only then does the diet stop being a risk and become a true food therapy. Turning BARF into a tool against allergies does not depend on improvisation or random attempts, but on a structured, patient, and careful path. The process begins by choosing an unprecedented protein, a meat that the animal has never consumed before, such as duck, rabbit, or lamb, and for 6 to 8 weeks it becomes the exclusive basis of the diet. During this period, all other elements that may interfere need to be removed: snacks, food scraps, and suspicious supplements. It is a time of silence and observation, in which the skin, fur, feces, and even the animal's behavior reveal if there is improvement. When the signs start to fade, it's time to slowly introduce new foods. First a second protein, then a simple vegetable like pumpkin or carrot, and each novelty must stand on its own for several days before another is added. Thus, it is possible to clearly identify what brings health and what causes crises, building the diet as if assembling a puzzle, piece by piece. Gradually, the structure consolidates. Lean meats and fleshy bones provide the base, viscera, and small amounts guarantee essential vitamins. Vegetables bring fiber and antioxidants that reduce inflammation, and supplements complete what is lacking. For allergic animals, nutrients such as omega-3, vitamin E, zinc, and probiotics become true allies, capable of healing the skin, balancing immunity, and returning energy to the body. But there is no point in being so careful if hygiene is neglected. Preparing BARF is like preparing food for a child. Meats need to be fresh, utensils clean, freezing cycles respected. A single carelessness can put everything at risk, especially in pets whose immunity is already weakened. In this way, the tutor discovers that he is not only feeding but caring in depth. Each meal becomes a gesture of conscious, studied, and responsible love. It is in this routine that he sees the pet regain the sparkle in his eyes, play again without scratching, sleep peacefully without pain. And this transformation is not only physical, it is also emotional, because the bond between tutor and animal is strengthened when they go through the battle together. In the end, the message is clear. Allergy is not a sentence. When conducted with patience, science, and dedication, BARF is no longer just an alternative to food and becomes a watershed, capable of returning full life, health, and well-being to dogs and cats that previously only knew suffering.